Hey guys, what's going on? So today we're taking a look at the Kami Tier 1 controller for the PlayStation 3. We're gonna be talking about some of the features, design, and performance of the controller. Now let's get right into it. Let's talk about pretty much design, and when I say design, I'm talking about layout of the buttons and looks of the controller. Now, if you look at this setup, it's pretty familiar. It looks like an Xbox controller, which to me it's a little bit different because I've been a PlayStation player for many years. We're talking about since PlayStation 1, of course, since the PlayStation 1 first came up, and the design of the PlayStation 1 controller is functional. It works, and I'm used to it. So this is a little bit different. Now, I'm not saying it's not functional because it is functional. I used to be an Xbox original Xbox player as well, and I haven't played in many years, but this actually works for me. Let's take a look at the PlayStation 4 controller for a second, and let's compare a little bit the size of them. As you can see, this is a PlayStation 4 controller. Even the PlayStation 3 controller, I should be comparing it to PlayStation 3 controller instead. So we're taking a look at the PlayStation 3 controller here, which does look a little bit bigger than the PlayStation 3 controller, but it's not that much of a difference. It actually does make for a good controller for gripping when you're playing. Now let's talk about stick layout. The layout, like I said, is kind of like the Xbox One controller, but it's functional and it's good. And it takes a second to get used to it if you're a PlayStation player, of course. It does take a second to get used to it, but it doesn't take away from the performance of the control. Let's talk about the sticks a little more. As you can see, there's a little concave right here, which is pretty good when it comes to playing first-person shooters or any type of game. I forgot to mention, actually, this controller, it's dedicated to first-person shooters, but you can still use it with other games, and it comes in as handy as it comes with first-person shooters. But this controller was designed with FPS in mind. As you can see, that the stick layout is a little different, but you do get the concave right here that we didn't start getting until the PlayStation 4 came out on the PlayStation side, of course. But on this controller you actually get that, which is a pretty cool feature because we know that this type of stick, it's very functional when we're playing first-person shooters. Actually, and also I noticed that the stick, it's a little raised, or more raised than it is on the PlayStation 3 controller, or it seems or it feels that way to me. Actually, a pretty cool feature if it's actually true. Something that I'm not really used to, it's having the cross or the D-pad on this side of the controller. Of course, I'm used to it being over here. So at the moment of playing, I found it a little bit distracting, but it gets a second to get used to. It doesn't take from the performance, like I said. We do have our select and start buttons and our home buttons as well, as you can see right here. We have our regular buttons over here, you know, like the way you get them on the PlayStation controller. We have our triggers right here, which is actually pretty convenient. I love the concave on the trigger. It's always really good when it comes to racing and of course first-person shooters, because in some of them you actually have to use these ones to shoot, and they're pretty comfy. You got your L1 and R1s right here, which don't feel too hard. They're actually pretty soft, and it's actually something really cool. They're not too soft in which you're gonna sometimes make a mistake and press them. No, they're actually pretty functional. You see this extra button, which I'm gonna talk about in just a second. This is an USB power controller, which means, of course, that you have to connect it to be able to use it. I know we're used to wireless controllers, but I can see why Kami decided to go with the USB or wire control instead of wireless. They're very functional when it comes to playing online. Every second, every millisecond counts. So we know that wireless controllers do have a little bit of lag when it comes to playing. So they decided to go with this because it's very important to manage your time when you're playing FPS. And this is why this is a really good first-person shooter controller, because it helps you manage your time when it comes to press different buttons. Now we're gonna talk about the features now that we talk about design. Actually, I forgot to tell you as well. There's 3 different colors. This is the orange, of course. There's a white one and a black one, which are pretty cool. I really like how the control looks. It does make a great addition to any gaming setup. I mean, it just looks great with mine. Mine's all black, and the orange looks just awesome combined with my setup right here. So let's talk about some of the features. And the main features, of course, it's the ability to able to map your buttons when you're playing, and it's really easy. I thought it was gonna be a little complicated because it looks complicated, but the main thing is that you're able to do it right there and then when you need it. You are able to do it from the controller. There's no need to map the controllers anywhere else. The controller has the ability to map the buttons right there. So you have your macro button right here, and we're talking about the features right now. So this controller has the ability or the option to map to have 2 different programmable settings, if we can say that. So if you turn the controller around, you're gonna find these 2 buttons, extra buttons right here, that are very, very helpful. As well, you're gonna find, let me focus a little bit. I think I'm out of focus a little bit, but there you go. So on the back, you're gonna see this little grid right here with a bunch of letters and symbols and whatnot. You get 2 options right here, remap or macro. Those are your programmable options. You can either remap your buttons to the ones right here, to the RM or LM or the macro button, or you can create a sequence of buttons that when you press one of the remap buttons, that sequence is gonna play at that moment when you press that selected button. This actually comes in very handy when you're on fighting games in which you need to enter a sequence of buttons to create a combo. Now, it's actually very simple to program. I actually found it super easy. It's so easy that you can do it under 30 seconds. If you're in a lobby and you're going to the next match and you need to remap your controller, you can do it super quick. To do this very quick, you have another set of buttons right here. One is reset, one is select. You'll start by selecting these ones right here, and as you can see, you can the little LEDs light up, and then you select what button you want to do. You select either remap or macro. So we're gonna go with macro, and when the light is red, you go and press select. Your controller will vibrate once, and then you go and select what button do you want to set up. In this case, let's do the M, which is the one on the front, which is let's do RM, and then press enter once. Your control will vibrate again to let you know that you selected that, and you got your first 2 selections already there. Now after that, you're gonna press the select button again to choose what button you want to remap. Let's say you want to crouch with another button instead of circle. So you're gonna select that and press select, and your selection is gonna be complete. Your remap is gonna be complete. Now when you go and play, it's gonna turn on by itself. Now when you go and play, instead of having to crouch like this, you don't have to let your stick go to go crouch. You can keep playing and quickly press the button that you selected to be remapped to crouch, and that comes in handy in many other different games. Let's say you're playing a racing game and you want to have a manual card instead of an automatic card. You can easily use these 2 pads to get a more feel of paddle shifters, like if you would in a real car. So you can say these are your accelerator and your brakes. You can easily use these 2 buttons to shift up and down, which is that's actually pretty cool, and it gives you a better feeling of you actually driving a car, if you can say so. When it comes to fighting games, it's actually a pretty cool deal, because you can always go to to set up your macro settings. So you can go to select your macro settings, and one of the cool features about the macro settings is that besides being able to select a button that will engage the sequence of movements, if you can say so, on a fighting game, you can always select the macro button, which is the one on the front, and then you can always select what buttons will create a sequence. So let's say you do triangle, and you can select, this is the cool feature here, you can select how many fractions of a second will it take for the control to enter the next sequence or the next button. You can select from 0. After you select that, you're gonna go to the next button. As you can see, a different button lights up, and after that you can select that again and select how long will it take for it to respawn. You select what fraction of a second, and after that you go to the next button, as you can see right here, and you do the same thing. That is awesome. That is actually a pretty awesome pretty awesome feature. Now when it comes to performance, the controller, it's basically just like any other controller, just with a little extra set of buttons. The performance, it's just as good as a stock controller, as good as a PlayStation 4 controller, as good as a PS3 controller. There's no delay on movement, there's no lag, there's nothing like that. Now the best thing is that you don't have to worry about recharging it on the middle of the game, because you are powered by the USB. You're constantly having that power in the controller. You don't have to worry about it dying in the middle of the game. Another cool feature that some controllers that I actually owned before left out, or aftermarket controllers left out, is the ability to vibrate. This is actually a DualShock controller, so I don't know if you can call it DualShock, but it does rumble, and that's actually something cool that not many controllers that I had before, or aftermarket controllers that I bought. That feature, it's like they forgot it just to make it a little cheaper. Now, it all comes down to price. There's many controllers out there that could probably have the same features, but not as good as this one. And also, they are very priced, or they actually priced fairly, but the price is actually too high. You can actually get this controller for $29.99. You can actually get them on GameStop, and they will soon release it on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon. They're actually thinking on releasing one for the Xbox One. One for PC, even though this one actually works for PC as well. And as soon as Sony lets people have the ability to create controllers for PlayStation 4, they will create one for PlayStation 4, and I would love to see one from them, because I actually was very happy with the performance of this controller. I do have some cons, which is the stick layout, because I'm a PlayStation player, so I'm used to the PlayStation stick layout. But other than that, the controller actually handles well, performs well, and it looks great. Maybe if you have little hands, it might get too big for you, but it's not a problem. Maybe another thing, it would be the layout of this. When you're getting used to it, you are gonna find yourself pressing these buttons quite a lot, so you have to figure out a way not to do it. But if you can keep your hands like in a normal controller, it wouldn't be a problem. It won't be a problem, and you're gonna have a lot of fun with this controller. I'm actually super happy with it, and I'm glad they decided to go with a USB controller instead of wireless, because I hate charging my PlayStation controllers. I have two PS3 original controllers, which I use simultaneously, because one dies, and while it charges, I have to use the other one. On my PlayStation 4, I only own one, which is kind of bad because I have to recharge it constantly. Now, this resolves the problems. It's kind of old school, if you can say it, because that was a PS2 thing, but you don't have to worry about batteries dying on the middle of the game. So this is it for today, guys. Let me know what you think about this controller. I will leave some links in the description so you can take a look at more specifications or information about it. And if you want to get your own, you can get it on Amazon. I'm sorry, on GameStop. They actually sell them already there. They've been released. Let me know what you guys think about it, and thank you very much for watching. Stay posted for more, and bye bye.